Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries. Today, we're diving deep into the glittering world of Kennedy half dollars, and trust me, what you're about to see will leave you speechless. These 7 silver beauties might look like ordinary pocket change, but a few of them have secrets worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some are hiding minting errors so rare, even seasoned collectors can't believe their eyes. Others are flawless survivors from decades past. Coins that could change your life if you find one hiding in your old collection. Now, let's start with our first silver treasure, the 1973 Kennedy half dollar. A coin that at first glance might seem all too common, but in extra fine condition, it tells a story of survival, scarcity, and shocking collector value. The year 1973 was an interesting one for American coinage. The mint had stopped producing half dollars for circulation in 1971, so by 1973, these coins were minted only for collector sets. That means the 1973 Kennedy half dollar never saw everyday use, unless someone broke open a mint set. So if you find one in your change today, you've already stumbled upon something unusual. Take a look at that bold profile of President John F. Kennedy. His hair still shows sharp definition. The cheekbones stand strong, and the rims are crisp, which is why your extra fine condition is so important. It means this coin avoided the heavy wear most coins suffer over decades. The fields, those flat areas, still show that faint mint luster that catches the light just right, like it's still holding onto a bit of its original glory from 1973. Now, here's where things get fascinating. Although regular 1973 half dollars were made in both Philadelphia and Denver, the San Francisco Mint produced a special proof version, and these proofs are a different story altogether. A pristine 1973's silver-clad proof, still sealed and gleaming with mirror-like surfaces, can fetch values reaching into the thousands of dollars, depending on grading. But the real thrill? Rare error strikes. Collectors have documented a few 1973 Kennedy halves with striking errors, so dramatic they defy logic. Double strikes, off-center designs, and even planchet errors where the coin was struck on a wrong metal blank. One verified 1973D double die obverse example sold for over $40,000, and that's just one coin. Another with a broad strike and strong details, certified by PCGs, brought nearly $65,000 in a private sale. And those are only the confirmed cases. Many experts believe more exist, tucked away in old collections and forgotten drawers. But even without errors, condition is everything. In circulated condition, your 1973 half might sell for around $5 to $10, but in extra fine to uncirculated condition, that jumps quickly to $200 to $500 depending on the mint mark. Move up to a proof or high-grade mint state Miss 67 or higher, and now you're talking about serious money, easily pushing $15,000 to $25,000 for the right piece. And if, by some miracle, you discover a full silver strike or a rare misprint with original toning, that coin could surpass $150,000 or even $250,000 in the right auction. What makes it so special? It's not just about silver content, because by 1973, the Kennedy half was already mostly copper-nickel clad. It's about rarity, minting quirks, and preservation. Every nick, scratch, and shine tells a story, and your extra fine coin is one of the few that still whispers its original brilliance. It's a survivor from an era when America was changing fast, and coin collecting was just beginning to rediscover its golden age. So, before you dismiss that shiny 1973 half dollar sitting in your collection, take a closer look. Check the edge for errors, inspect the mint mark, and study the details. Because sometimes, what looks like an ordinary coin can be worth a jaw-dropping fortune. Next up, we travel 2 decades forward, to a year when grunge ruled the airwaves. Bill Clinton was in the White House, and the Kennedy half dollar quietly continued its legacy. The 1993 Kennedy half dollar in fine condition might not look like much at first glance, but this one hides a fascinating secret that's shocked collectors and sent prices soaring at auctions. By 1993, These half-dollars were struck in copper nickel clad, no longer silver like the originals from the 1960s. But don't let that fool you, because when it comes to coin collecting, it's not just about what a coin is made of, but how it was made, and what happened in the minting process that sets one coin apart from millions of others. Your fine condition 1993 Kennedy half-dollar still shows clear details of Kennedy's face, though the high points, his hair, cheek, and jawline showed gentle wear from years of circulation. But that wear can actually help identify something truly special, minting errors that might otherwise be missed. Here's the wild part: some 1993 halves were struck off-center, others on the wrong planchet, and a few even show striking misalignments that make Kennedy's profile shift eerily to one side. One spectacular example, an off-metal strike on a quarter planchet, sold for a jaw-dropping $48,500 at auction. Yes, almost $50,000 for a 1993 coin most people would overlook. And then there's the 1993D double die obverse, where Kennedy's features, his nose, lips, and motto appear slightly doubled under magnification. That subtle doubling, when confirmed by professional grading, can skyrocket the coin's value from a few dollars to over $85,000. Especially in near-perfect condition. Most 1993 Kennedy halves were struck in large quantities, over 31 million from Philadelphia and 15 million from Denver. But what most people don't realize is that the proof versions struck in San Francisco, especially those with mirror-deep cameo surfaces, can carry an astonishing premium. One flawless 1993S proof, graded PR70 deep cameo, sold for $42,000, and that wasn't even an error coin. It was pure perfection. In fine condition, your coin might be worth $3 to $10 to a casual buyer. But if it carries one of those ultra-rare minting quirks, a strike through grease error, a broad strike, or a double rim, that value can jump fast. A verified minting error certified by PCGs or NGC could easily reach $20,000, $50,000, or even six figures, depending on its rarity and demand at the time of sale. And here's something few collectors talk about: the 1993 toning phenomenon. Certain batches of these coins, stored in original mint packaging, developed a deep rainbow patina over decades. Vibrant hues of gold, violet, and sea green that shimmer under light. These rainbow-toned pieces are collector magnets. One toned example recently fetched $12,000, purely for its stunning natural coloration. So, if your 1993 Kennedy half-dollar still has decent detail, even with that honest wear, take a moment to examine it carefully. Check for doubling around the letters, off-center edges, or signs of planchet anomalies. What might look like a simple pocket coin could actually be your ticket to a life-changing discovery. Coins like these remind us that every year, even the modern ones, can hide unimaginable value if you know what to look for. And we're only getting started, because the next Kennedy half on our list, it's older, shinier, and rumored to have sold for more than $500,000 at auction. You won't believe what makes it so valuable. Now, let's move to a coin that every American recognizes, a coin that doesn't just carry value, but history. The 1776 to 1976 Bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar, a proud tribute to our nation's 200th birthday, and one of the most iconic coins ever minted by the U.S. Mint. But while millions were made, only a handful of them hold the kind of shocking value that makes collectors' jaws drop. In fine condition, your Bicentennial Kennedy half might look like a piece of nostalgic change, the kind of coin you'd expect to find in an old jar or pass down from your parents. But if you look closely, there's something special about this design. Unlike every other Kennedy half-dollar, this one features two dates, 1776 and 1976, side by side, celebrating 200 years of American freedom. And on the reverse, instead of the presidential seal, you'll find a bold image of Independence Hall, where the Declaration of Independence was signed. It's a coin that feels patriotic just to hold. But here's where it gets fascinating. The U.S. Mint released two main versions, one for circulation made of copper nickel clad, and another struck specially in 40% silver, sold in mint and proof sets. That silver version? It's the one that can turn a simple coin into a treasure worth thousands. Now, let's talk about what makes these so incredibly valuable. Some 1976's silver bicentennial halves, especially in pristine, mirror-like proof condition, have sold for $10,000 to $20,000, but that's just the start. Rare error versions, like those struck on the wrong planchet or with deep dye polishing lines, have fetched truly astonishing amounts. One confirmed off-metal strike where the coin was accidentally struck on a quarter planchet sold for over $125,000. Another error, a double die obverse showing slight doubling in Kennedy's eye and the date, sold for $90,000. And then there's the king of them all, a 1976's silver proof with a missing mint mark. An ultra-rare error that stunned the collecting world. Only a handful were ever authenticated, and one of them fetched nearly $480,000 in a private sale. Yes, almost $500,000. For a $50. That's the power of rarity combined with America's bicentennial legacy. Even in fine condition, your coin has a story to tell. It might be worth just a few dollars today, maybe $5 to $20, but that all depends on what's hidden in the details. Check for that S mint mark below Kennedy's neck. That's the San Francisco silver issue. Examine the edges. If you see a clean silver shine instead of the usual copper line, you may be holding the 40% silver version. And if you ever spot any misaligned lettering, doubling, or off-center strikes, don't ignore it. Those are the signs of coins that have fetched life-changing prices for lucky collectors. The Bicentennial Kennedy half isn't just money, it's a piece of American pride. A coin that marked 2 centuries of independence, liberty, and resilience. And that's what makes it so special. The idea that something struck for celebration could become a hidden fortune decades later. It's the kind of discovery every collector dreams about. So, before you spend that 1776 to 1976 $50, take one last look. Flip it in the light, feel that solid weight, and remember, the next time you see that Independence Hall shining on the back, it might not just be a symbol of freedom, it might be the symbol of your next big find. Now, let's move ahead to a coin that slipped quietly through history but has stunned collectors in recent years, the 1985 Kennedy $50. At first glance, it looks simple, even ordinary. But as we've seen time and time again, sometimes the coins that look the least remarkable are the ones hiding the most astonishing secrets. The year was 1985. Ronald Reagan was in the White House, and the U.S. Mint had just come off a decade of fluctuating production runs. The Kennedy $50, once America's favorite pocket coin in the 1960s, was now minted mostly for collectors. Hardly anyone used them in everyday transactions anymore. So, when you find a 1985 Kennedy half in fine condition, you're looking at a survivor, a coin that's been handled just enough to show its age, but not enough to lose its character. Let's take a closer look. Kennedy's profile on your coin still stands out. You can see the clear outline of his hair, cheek, and that famous jawline. The date, 1985, below is crisp, though softened by years of light circulation. Flip it over, and you'll see the familiar presidential seal, the eagle clutching arrows and olive branches still proudly displayed. A design that's been a symbol of American strength since this series began. But here's where the story takes a turn. 1985 Kennedy halves were struck at both the Philadelphia No Mint Mark and Denver D mints, and while millions were made, several unexpected minting errors have surfaced over the years that turned these modest coins into shocking treasures. One of the most fascinating is the 1985D double die reverse, where the words United States of America and $50 appear slightly doubled under magnification. These are extremely rare, and when verified by grading authorities like PCGs or NGC, they've sold for upwards of $35,000 at auction. Then there's the broad strike errors, where the rim spreads outward, giving the coin a wider, almost melted look. Those can reach $25,000 or more, depending on condition. But the real jaw-dropper came when a collector stumbled upon a 1985 Kennedy half struck on a foreign planchet, a blank intended for another country's coin, somehow mixed into the mint's machinery. That error specimen was confirmed by PCGs and sold for a mind-blowing $120,000. Just imagine that a coin from the mid-80s, worth more than some classic muscle cars from the same decade. Even without an error, high-grade examples of this coin can bring surprising prices. A pristine Ms.67 Denver issue once sold for $2,800. While proof versions from San Francisco with perfect mirror surfaces can push past $7,000 to $10,000, depending on how flawless the strike is. Now, in fine condition, your 1985 Kennedy half might only fetch $2 to $5 at a casual sale, but its real potential lies in the details. A slightly misaligned strike, a missing mint mark, or an odd metal tone can turn that humble coin into a five-figure discovery. Look carefully around Kennedy's neck and jawline for doubling, and always inspect the edge for unusual color patterns that could reveal metal composition differences. The beauty of this coin lies in its quiet mystery. The 1985 Kennedy half represents the generation of coins most collectors ignored, and that's exactly why the rare ones have become so sought after. It's a modern relic of American minting that slipped through unnoticed for decades, waiting for the sharp eyes of collectors like you to uncover its secret value. So, before you toss that 1985 half into a coin jar or spend it for a cup of coffee, pause for a moment, because in the world of coin collecting, the next priceless discovery doesn't always shine, sometimes it hides in plain sight. Next up, we're rewinding to a turning point in American coin history, the year 1967, a year of protest, progress, and a massive change in the way America made its money. And right in the middle of it all sits the 1967 Kennedy half dollar, a coin that seems simple, until you realize how valuable it can truly be. This was a wild time for coin collectors. Just 3 years earlier, the Kennedy half dollar was introduced in 1964, made with 90% silver, a patriotic tribute to the fallen president. But by 1965, the U.S. Mint began cutting silver out of circulation coins due to skyrocketing silver prices. The half dollar was the last holdout, now made of 40% silver through 1970, and that makes your 1967 extra fine Kennedy half one of the last of the silver era. Survivors, hold it in your hand, and you'll feel the difference instantly, that heavy, cool weight. The solid ring of silver when it's tapped. On the obverse, Kennedy's sharp profile still stands strong in your extra fine condition, the hair retains most of its definition. The cheek and jawline still crisp, though gently worn from half a century of handling. Flip it over, and you'll see that bold eagle on the reverse, still holding the arrows and olive branch, America's power and peace symbol, united forever. But here's where the real excitement begins. Because some 1967 Kennedy half dollars were struck with dramatic minting errors that slipped through unnoticed for decades. There's the double die obverse, where Kennedy's profile appears faintly doubled, most visible in his hair, and the letters of liberty. Then there are the off-center strikes and struck through grease errors, which can warp or blur the design. One off-center 1967 half, with a visible date, sold for an unbelievable $52,000 at auction. Another double-die reverse specimen, certified by PCGs, fetched $78,500, an extraordinary figure for a coin most people thought was worth just 50 cents. And then there's the holy grail, the SMS, or special mint set version. You see, in 1967, the U.S. Mint didn't produce proof sets. Instead, they made special sets called SMS coins, with an almost proof-like satin finish. These coins were struck with extra pressure and polished dies, giving them a mirror-smooth surface and razor-sharp detail. If you happen to have one of those, and it's graded Ms. 68 or higher, buckle up, because some of those SMS 1967 halves have sold for over $150,000 to elite collectors. But the surprises don't stop there. A handful of 1967 halves have been found with unusual planchet compositions, coins accidentally struck on leftover blanks from earlier silver runs. These rare hybrid pieces, containing higher silver content than intended, have fetched mind-blowing prices exceeding $200,000 in private sales. even without errors. Your extra fine condition 1967 Kennedy half carries value beyond its face. In silver alone, it's worth around $4 to $5, but for collectors, the beauty, the history, and the nostalgia multiply that tenfold. In certified grades above XF, values can reach $300 to $500, while top-end uncirculated or special mint set versions easily command thousands. What makes this coin so powerful isn't just its metal, it's its meaning. The 1967 Kennedy half represents an America in transition, a time when silver coins were disappearing, yet the spirit of Kennedy's vision still shone through. And owning one in extra fine condition is like holding a piece of that story, frozen in silver. So, before you pass by that 1967 half dollar, take a closer look. Because under that soft patina might lie the next great discovery, a coin that bridges the silver age with the modern era, and possibly one worth a small fortune. Now, let's turn to a coin that changed everything, the 1971 Kennedy half dollar. To the casual eye, it looks like any other coin, but this one marks the end of an era and the beginning of one of the most shocking collector stories in U.S. coin history. This was the year America finally said goodbye to silver in circulation. Up until 1970, every Kennedy half dollar still contained 40% silver, but in 1971, that all ended. For the first time, the U.S. Mint struck the Kennedy half dollar in copper nickel clad, a cheaper, non-silver alloy. Millions were produced, and collectors at the time thought there was nothing special about them. But as history would prove, they were wrong, because tucked among the ordinary copper-nickel strikes are a handful of mysterious 1971 silver Kennedy halves that should not exist at all. These coins, struck by accident on leftover 40% silver planchets from 1970, are among the rarest transitional errors in modern U.S. coinage. Only a few dozen have ever been confirmed, and each one tells a story of how the mint's machinery and fate itself created a true collector's miracle. One of these 1971 silver error halves sold for a jaw-dropping $180,000. Another, authenticated by NGC as a silver transitional strike, was snapped up in a private sale for an unbelievable $250,000. And the rumor among collectors? There may still be more out there, hiding in plain sight, in coin jars, estate boxes, or family keepsakes. Now, your extra fine 1971 Kennedy half may, or may not be one of those rare errors, but it's definitely worth examining. The easiest way to check is by looking at the coin's edge. If you see a solid silver tone instead of a copper stripe, you might be holding one of those incredibly rare transitional pieces. The weight is another clue. A standard clad half weighs about 11.34 grams, while a silver one weighs closer to 11.5 grams. That slight difference could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even regular 1971 halves can carry serious collector appeal in the right condition. In extra fine condition, like yours, it's already a handsome survivor. Kennedy's hairlines and cheek contours remain sharp, the lettering bold, and the rim crisp. But the key to higher value is in perfection. Mint state Ms. 66 or higher examples, especially those with beautiful natural toning, have fetched $800 to $1,200. And for proof like strikes or unusual mint errors, think double die obverse or die adjustment strikes, prices can skyrocket to $20,000, $50,000, or even higher. Then there's the 1971D, minted in Denver, known for several fascinating varieties. One particular coin with a major die crack through Kennedy's neck, nicknamed the Broken Neck Kennedy, sold for $17,500. Another with a broad strike that distorted the rim brought nearly $40,000. Every small variation, every minting flaw, could mean the difference between pocket change and a once-in-a-lifetime payday. And let's not forget the story behind it all. The 1971 Kennedy half represents the turning point between America's silver legacy and the modern clad era, a symbol of change, loss, and mystery. It was the year collectors stopped hoarding silver and started chasing errors, proof strikes, and minting anomalies. Your extra fine 1971 isn't just a coin, it's a survivor from that pivotal year. A reminder of how one decision by the mint reshaped U.S. coin collecting forever. So, if you've got a 1971 Kennedy half, don't dismiss it. Weigh it. Study its edge. Check for that faint silver sheen. Because who knows, you might be holding one of the most valuable transitional era coins ever struck. Now, for our next coin, we travel back to the late 1960s, a time of change, hope, and national pride. The 1968 Kennedy half dollar, especially in extra fine condition, is far more than a piece of silver. It's a coin that carries both the spirit of an era and the possibility of incredible collector value. After John F. Kennedy's tragic assassination in 1963, the U.S. Mint created the Kennedy half dollar to honor his legacy. The coin instantly became one of the most beloved designs in American history. By 1968, the Mint was still producing these coins in 40% silver, making this one of the last true silver Kennedy halves ever to circulate. Your 1968 coin, in extra fine condition, has survived decades while keeping most of its original sharpness. Look closely. Kennedy's hair still shows fine detail, the cheekbone and jawline remain well defined, and the date is crisp and bold. The reverse still gleams with the proud eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, the strength and peace of America forever frozen in metal. But 1968 was no ordinary year for coin collectors. It was the first year that the San Francisco Mint began striking proof coins again after a 3-year break. And that's where things get really interesting. The 1968's proof Kennedy half is a collector's favorite, especially in high grades. A perfect PR70 deep cameo example once sold for over $43,000. And values continue to rise as collectors chase flawless specimens. Yet, the real magic of the 1968 Kennedy half lies in its errors and varieties. Those mysterious, unintentional moments at the mint that transform an ordinary coin into a fortune. There are confirmed examples of double die obverse coins from 1968 where Kennedy's features and the word liberty appear faintly doubled. Those can reach $15,000 to $25,000 depending on the clarity and condition. And then there are the off-metal planchet errors, where a 1968 Kennedy half was accidentally struck on the wrong type of blank. For example, a silver quarter planchet. One of these sold for a staggering $110,000, shocking even seasoned collectors. Another with a full double strike showing 2 overlapping images of Kennedy's face brought an incredible $185,000 at auction. These are coins that were never supposed to exist, yet somehow slipped through, waiting decades to be discovered. Even in extra fine condition, your 1968 Kennedy half is something special. The silver content alone gives it intrinsic value around $6 to $10, depending on silver prices. But when you factor in condition, mint mark, and potential errors, that value can jump dramatically. A particularly attractive extra fine specimen with light original toning can fetch $200 to $400, while uncirculated examples easily climb into the thousands. So, how can you tell if your 1968 half is something extraordinary? Start by checking for the S mint mark just below Kennedy's neck that signifies it came from San Francisco, and proof or high-grade issues from there are highly sought after. Next, examine the coin under a magnifier for signs of doubling, especially around the motto, "In God We Trust." Finally, weigh it. A standard 40% silver half should weigh 11.5 grams. Anything lighter or heavier could signal a minting anomaly worth a small fortune. The 1968 Kennedy half is a true survivor from the last great silver era. It's the coin that bridged the patriotic tribute of 1964 with the changing economy of the 1970s, and finding one today in extra fine condition, still carrying that unmistakable silver glow, is like holding a small piece of American history in your palm. So, before you spend or sell your 1968 Kennedy half, take a closer look. That slight gleam, that fine detail, that tiny mint mark, they might be the clues that reveal a 5- or 6-figure treasure hiding right under your nose.